So if you could go back now and talk to the 30, 40-year-old John Piper, the 29-year-old John MacArthur, knowing what you know now, what do you think would be the most important thing to tell them, tell you on the front end of your ministries?
Well, it's clear to me that the most important things would have to do with my children and my wife and not the church. I don't think I would do anything basically differently at Bethlehem. If I thought real hard about it, I might think of some tactical changes, but I think we work out of a pastoral model that's so simple, it's hard to change it. You know, it's just you open the Bible and you tell people what it means with all your heart and try to live it out before the people and figure out the other stuff as you go along. But the family, I could do better. I could really do better as a dad, I think, if I started over again. Nobody was talking in terms of shepherding a child's heart in those days. You know, it's a book title. If y'all don't know that title, I don't think I did very good at that. In fact, giving an illustration of I got an email from Nathan down there today. In it, you quoted Rick Gamache, who's pastor of a Sovereign Grace Church here in town. And Rick had done my class for me last Thursday and had told these guys about questions that he asks his children to draw out their heart. And I read those 10 questions or so. I copied them down. I sent them to all 4 of my sons. They've all got kids, and I don't want them to do as poorly as I did. I think I was faithful to my kids. I went to all the soccer games. I tucked them in at night. I set an example for them. I had devotions every night. But I rarely drew out their affectional life at age, say, 13, 14, 15. And that has not set them up to be as effective, I think, in their lives as they might have been. So I would go to the John Piper at age 34, I think, and I would say, do better at supplementing your truth commitments with drawing out your wife's heart and drawing out your child's heart so that they find ways to express what's in here, not just what's in here. And I think I was naive about that because all that stuff sort of comes naturally for me. I mean, I'm an emotional guy. Easy for me to express emotions, positive, negative. I'm all over the map. But it doesn't come naturally. You have to, I think, draw it out. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind because it feels big now. And the boys are all grown. I've still got Talitha, which is a wonderful gift that I can now. That's why I copied these 10 questions down because, all right, she's 11 and it's not too late.
Well, I think there's some of that with me. There was a lot less introspection spiritually going on in evangelicalism when I was 29 and coming into my church. I don't think people thought much about expressing feelings, at least in the world that I lived in. So I would think that would probably be more true of me, too, than it would be in later years. But I think for me that the real challenge when I was 29, I'm not a high-powered, type A steamroller guy, but I'm highly motivated. I don't know whether it's a natural gift or a spiritual gift to organize everything. And I think now I've let all of that go, and there's a natural, like you said, a simple, natural flow to the life of the church. But in the early years, I was always trying to reorganize everything and restructure it and just moving people around in different boxes. And they were all willing, they were sure, whatever, try this, try that, try this, try that. And I finally figured out that that's not what you should be doing. And I think the price was paid to some degree with my family because I was so busy doing all the study. And then on top, I was coming up with all these different ways to structure and organize things. And I think I didn't give the time to Patricia in particular. And even though I was home, preoccupied, trying to stuff so many things in, the joke in our family is, calling Father, and they'd wave their fingers across my face, even when I was there. So I wasn't always easy to engage. I think I'm better at it now. You'd have to ask them. I hope I am. I think from the church's standpoint, patience. I've never been really a patient person with myself, particularly when I was young, and expecting everything to happen fast and being disappointed if it didn't happen at the pace that I thought it should happen at. Why can't people figure it out? Here it is, do it. And, it was Grace Community Church, but it was struggling to be Grace, So I think hopefully I've come to understand that a little better, and there's more patience with people. And, I was mentioning to somebody earlier, you preach the word strong and hard and bold and clear and straightforward and without compromise, and then you apply it with tenderness and compassion and grace and long-suffering with people. In the pulpit, it's clear, it's hard-hitting, it's firm, but when you come down and you shepherd these people, that's where you have to express, in the application of these great truths, the patience that endears them. You love them in the process and move them along gradually. And that's something I had to learn.
I was thinking earlier today about both of you and of everybody in this room. You two probably receive more praise and more criticism at the same time. And just wondering specifically how you personally handle both the reception of praise, which you get a lot of, and the reception of criticism, which you get a lot of. How do you keep from being prideful on the one hand and overly discouraged on the other hand? And how do you process that when a high praise comes into you, or a harsh criticism, so that you're responding biblically?
Well, that's part of what I want to talk about in the morning, but look, as I said tonight, this whole thing is a mercy. My salvation is a mercy. I'm not worthy of any of this, and I think I'm always amazed that God does what He does. Who's adequate for these things, as we were talking about? I think you just have to deal with things honestly, realistically, in the sense that God is not doing work on the basis of my abilities and my gifts and my power and my insight. This is all, I'm just a tool or an instrument. I think part of the benefit of being in the same church for a long time is it reflects back all your strengths and weaknesses. If you just go from town to town to town, you might believe your press clippings. But if you have to live continuously with the failures, with the inadequacies, with the weaknesses in your own life that show up reflected in your people and your family and your kids, and I think there's something real about that. I think it helps to have a wife who knows that praise can be harmful, and without deciding that she's going to be a thorn in the flesh, she can also be the one who pulls you back to reality. But I think, I'm just grateful. When people say kind things about me, I know that they're responding to the teaching of the Word of God and the work of the Spirit through the Word. And I'm just grateful. It always surprises me, and I'm grateful. On the other hand, criticism, I decided a long time ago not to try to defend myself. If the truth were known, I can't defend myself at some points. If you happen to pick the one where I could, I don't want to get in a situation of trying to portray some kind of perfection or answering every critic. I mean, we all have weaknesses. I have errors in my theology. I don't know where they are. If I knew where they were, I would change them, but I don't know where they are. I'm working on it. But I think from the negative side, I just refused many years ago, long years ago, 25 years ago, I refused to defend myself. I just try to do what I do and be faithful and do it and let my life and ministry speak for itself, and not run around and try to answer every accusation, every criticism that comes. I understand that they're out there. I don't look for them.